So I was browsing Amazon Prime recently, and everywhere I went I saw this one movie. No matter where I was on Amazon Prime, it would follow me, and it was amazing. Just from the poster alone, I couldn't not watch it. Now this, like all good movies, starts with paperwork, because when you're starting a movie, who doesn't want to see all the legal work that went into it? So we open to this family praying to a statue, which is just how I wish every Superman film would start. And usually you'd have them like getting off of Krypton or something, but not in this film. Who needs that when you can have them praying to a statue? Now the film uses stunning CGI to show the death of this random kid's parents. And then in a strange turn of events, instead of the kid being sad that the parents have died, they're more worried about the priest that also died. Now we get into one of the film's main aspects, a musical segment. And I'll just say it, this song's an absolute bomb. It's great how the film uses a limited amount of zooms. Now, like in every family-friendly adaptation of Superman, the kid stabs themselves and commits suicide, and then something happens I can't even put into words. I think I finally figured out why Zack Snyder's Justice League failed. They didn't have the origin story of Superman, where they killed themselves in front of a god. It all makes sense now. After a 2-minute recap of the scenes that literally just happened a second ago, we get into the first action scene. This person wearing a blindingly yellow jacket finds 2 people tied up at the side of a tree. After finding out there are more hostages in a vehicle, our hero decides to drive his Mr. Bean car to find them. After these rascals set the road on fire, there's only one option for our hero. He must transform. If you've ever seen a Superman film, you know usually they go into like a phone box or something, or like rip their shirt. Not in this. There is just one cut. That's all you need to know, that this person is now Superman. There's something strange about this Superman suit. Instead of what would usually be an S, there's a H. And I've wondered for years, what does this stand for? But I think I finally figured it out. The H stands for Heroin Man. Now this action scene has started, I think it's an important time to mention. A lot of this movie is just randomly green, and I have no idea why. It's like they just went to human saturation and just put the green all the way up. And now we have an amazing 6.5-minute segment of the movie where literally nothing of importance happens. At this point, I thought all hope was lost. But then it happened. An actual scene in the most dangerous location. A bus. This bus is close to falling off a cliff when a man with a mustache drawn on with a pencil arrives. And while they did wait until after the bus was on a safe area of the road, it's the thought that counts. In case you forgot, this film's a musical, and this means we're treated to an amazing song about how sexy the main character is. Who wouldn't fall for this overweight man with a horrible fashion sense? So after it looks like this movie doesn't have a plot, the villain shows up and begins explaining the master plan. Oh, that's what I would have said if they didn't play loud music over the entire speech. In the next scene, the film reveals one of the major weapons the villains use. Now when you think of a dangerous weapon, what comes to mind? A knife? A gun? A knife gun? Well, in this film, the weapon the goons use are elephants. So now this is something I can't show, so you'll just have to trust my word, but this film has multiple posters of straight up naked women in the background. After a few scenes, where once again nothing happens, we need an action scene. Some random goon, as the film calls them, attacks a train. Heroin Man kills someone with a train and catches a bullet. Without even dealing with the bad guy, they immediately leave and ask a random person who the bullet was made for. They get information by threatening and shooting the shop owner with a fully loaded gun. Just what you want the hero to do. So now, we get one of the strangest moments in the entire film, where Heroin Man must commit animal cruelty on some elephants, and becomes a hypocrite by using the same machine as the bad guys did to control the elephants to murder someone. Another thing I realised about this film is that the characters will randomly change from speaking English to some other language, as if I'm watching a 2-hour-long K-pop music video.
చెప్పాలి నేను ఆ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ కోసమే వచ్చాను.
Sorry sir, ఇది business secret.
Now we have a very wet scene where Mark Ment has yet another song with the love interest. The whole time they're splashing each other with water and lying in a fountain. I'm just wondering one thing. Why couldn't they have done this in the acres of grass around them? After this scene,
Okay, thank you daddy.
we are blinded by the light of God, and we have the most boring scene that has nothing to do with the plot, where two people just discuss if a millionaire is cheating on the main character's sister. Now, the love interest gets kidnapped by a cult out of nowhere, and it's up to a man in their pyjamas to stop them. They then defeat everyone without challenge, because stakes aren't important in a fight scene. Once this fight is over, we get a visual shot that makes any Marvel movie look like a cheap asylum. If you were an insane person and actually wanted to watch this film, I would recommend turning it off after this scene, because after this, the film goes from a so bad it's good masterpiece to a boring nightmare that never ends. I was complaining earlier about scenes that have no relevance to the plot and go on for way too long, but I kid you not, there is a 50-minute chunk of this movie where this happens. Now I refuse to go through this, so I'll just summarise the important details. This sex ghost is mad at Iron Man because he cheats on everyone. So then they are teleported to a cave for no reason. Then, after nearly an hour of not seeing our hero, he emerges and actually has a good fight scene with tension that I was invested in for some reason. The sex ghost is dealt with, but there is still one more thing on Iron Man's bucket list. There is only one person left from the group that killed their family. So they do a full-on Man of Steel and snap the villain's neck. This film ends by reusing footage from the scene which would show what Aladdin would look like if it was actually a good film, and then the horror is over. What? I could have watched The Green Knight this whole time. This is a complicated film because, in my opinion, I believe it is one of the best So Bad It's Good films for half the runtime. But the actor playing the main character has a real ego problem and spends the 50-minute chunk of the movie letting people know he gets bitches. I feel if this film had stopped at the halfway mark, which was already an hour and 17 minutes, it would have been the perfect way to laugh at film with friends. But this film just ends up being a bloated mess.